I sincerely want to commend you for the parliamentary business that you're conducting.
On Tuesday, 29th August 2023, Parliament adopted a report by its Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry recommending the dismissal of the Ministry's Permanent Secretary, Geraldine Ssali.
In a letter dated 20th May 2022, the PS, Ms. Geraldine Ssali, requested the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance and Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Ngobi Ramadan, to authorize virement of 5 billion from rent to renovation of the ministry premises. On 2nd June 2022, the PSST responded to her request, stating that your request does not satisfy the requirement of virement under Section 22(2) of the PFMA as amended 2015, which stipulates that virement should not be more than 10% of the money allocated for an item or an activity, or a vote where the virement is from one item or activity to another. The committee further observes that the PSST authorized change of work plan on 2nd June, and the same was received by the Ministry of Trade on 7th June, see Annex H. However, to the utter shock of the committees, it was established that 14 days earlier, 14 days before even the PSST approved change of work plan, on 24th May 2022, even before a revised work plan could have been received and approved by the PSST, the PS Ministry of Trade, Ms. Geraldine Ssali, had authorized the initiation of a procurement process for renovation of office premises, and the bids were issued on 30th May. Recommendations: the PSST exercises its authority under Section 11(2)(g) of the PFMA 2015 to withdraw the appointment and designation of Ms. Geraldine Ssali as an accounting officer for Ministry of Trade in view of her failure to control the regulatory and proper use of money appropriated to a vote in regard to the procurement of renovation works, in contravention of Section 26(1)(f), 26(1)(fa), 26(1)(j), 26(2)(b) of the PPDA Act 2003, and Section 45 of the PFMA 2015 inter alia.
We all have a duty to fight corruption in this country, and my ministry will be working with other authorities to take action on the recommendation by the committee.
During the sitting, Parliament granted Busiki County Member of Parliament, Honorable Paula Kamba, leave to introduce a bill seeking to abolish the institution of criminal proceedings by private persons.
I raised to move a motion seeking leave of the House to introduce a private member's bill entitled the Magistrates Court's Amendment Bill. The state is better placed to handle prosecutions as envisioned in the Constitution for the following reasons. Since the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution and the Inspector of Government are a creature of the Constitution, the state sets aside significant resources for the officers to carry out their roles. As such, the officers have employed a significant number of public prosecutors and established themselves in different parts of the country to ably handle prosecutions. The structures of the two offices have stood the test of time and grown to handle the institution of criminal proceedings. The officers also are vested with skills and competencies to institute criminal proceedings, which the magistrate or local chief cannot be said to have. Criminal proceedings, by their nature, require the collection of sufficient evidence. The Office of the DPP and the IGG carry out in-depth investigations before they can sanction a file. In fact, in practice, the DPP indicates on a file that the evidence collected is sufficient for charges to be laid against the accused person. The reliance on a magistrate alone and a local chief of an area as required in the Magistrates Courts Act cannot be equated to the arm of the two officers that collaborate with other security agencies in evidence gathering and ensuring collection of watertight evidence.
On Wednesday, 30th August 2023, the Speaker raised concerns on the rising prices of fuel and delayed introduction of regulations to contain hiking of school fees.
As we prepare for children to go back to school, I also want to urge executive to strengthen on the issue of regulation on school fees. We've talked about issues of school fees in this house because there are schools that are exploiting parents. We need the regulations in this house, government. Last week we witnessed a spike in the fuel pumps. Fuel has gone to, I'm told it is how much? That is so high. We need an explanation from executive on how they are planning to address this issue.
Legislators also praised Uganda's national senior athletics and netball teams for their stellar performances in the recent international sports events.
Uganda, of course, was part of the above achievements, and it sent a contingent of 20 athletes and returned with 2 gold medals, equaling its performance in 2019 in Doha, in Qatar. This remains the best performance of the country in the championship since the first edition of the event. Uganda was ranked 11 out of the 39 countries that won medals. Team Uganda is meant to continue to participate in different disciplines in the ESC Games, in all African Games. These activities are meant to take place September, in October. But as far as I'm concerned, the release we got was less by 10 billion.
What we have advised entities is that where an activity of this nature notifies early, once we are notified early, then we plan accordingly. For instance, now, what the minister is saying, if at the beginning of July we had been notified that activities under athletics and the sports subsector will take place in the month of July, August, and September, we would have done the release accordingly.
During the sitting, the leader of the opposition, Honorable Mathias Mpuga, called for a constitutional review to empower Parliament to participate in negotiating treaties, conventions, and agreements between Uganda and any other country or international body.
On many instances, a handful of government officials are selected to deliberate and sign treaties on behalf of Uganda without involving the people's representatives, that is the members of Parliament. This House ought to take interest in the matter of entering treaties, conventions, agreements, or other engagements between Uganda and any other country. In the circumstances, I pray that this House directs the Prime Minister to make a statement on government's plan to accede to the Energy Charter Treaty. And my second prayer is that this House urges government to expedite constitutional review, including empowering Parliament to have an input in the process of negotiating and binding Uganda to international instruments, as well as ratifying the same.
Also in the sitting, the House passed the Veterinary Practitioners Bill 2023, which imposes a 7-year jail sentence or fine of 10 million shillings for veterinary practitioners whose licenses are revoked but continue to practice and in the process cause death to animals or humans.
In subclause 4, by increasing the period of imprisonment from 2 years to 7 years. Justification: causing death or endangering humans or animals should carry a more punitive punishment.
I agree with the committee. 7 is deterrent. I think we adopt 7.
I put a question that clause 60 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 60 as amended.
I put a question that clause 60 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
On Thursday, 31st August 2023, Honorable Patrick Oshabe withdrew the National Local Content Bill 2023.
It no longer meets the intention of which it was meant to achieve. The bill was an affirmative action law, Madam Speaker, for Ugandans to ably participate in the provisions of goods, works, and services. The bill was, however, been modified to provide for priority and prioritization of East African Community Partner States, which have offended is the very lead title of the bill in the contravention of Rule 116 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, which bars a bill from containing anything foreign. Furthermore, the amendments to the bill contravene in many of other new laws, including the procurement laws. At an opportune time, I will seek leave of this House, Madam Speaker, to introduce the National Local Content Bill again, having thoroughly considered the amendments that are being proposed. Right Honourable Speaker, in accordance with Rule 140 of the Rules of Procedure, I therefore wish to withdraw the National Local Content Bill 2022.
During the sitting, Local Government Minister Honorable Raphael Majezi was tasked to inform local government leaders on guidelines issued by Parliament for the utilization of the 1 billion shillings road maintenance grant.
I immediately summoned the executive committee of the district engineers. I met this morning, I met them, and they had, they received the resolutions of Parliament, and they are committed to implement. Secondly, we have sent a team to the different districts so that we are able to come up with a concrete answer to Parliament on, number one, did they receive the money, how much this quarter, and number two, how are they utilizing it?
There is only one thing that solves the whole problem. We want a letter from local government, guidelines that were passed by Parliament that have been forwarded by local government to all the local governments.
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker, we did two things. Number one, we met as ministers responsible. And number two, we dispatched the resolution. But we didn't provide the guidelines in terms of a resolution being crafted into guidelines.
I want you to write to the local governments forwarding the resolution of Parliament.
Right Honourable Speaker, most obliged.
When do I get a copy of that letter?
Right Honourable Speaker, the copy of the letter will be on your desk on Tuesday.
I want to have the copy of the letter tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow is Friday. I will be working.
The Minister of State for Sports, Honorable Peter Ogwang, in a statement to Parliament, communicated government's intervention against exorbitant school fees and requirements.
No school, private or government, shall increase fees for whatever reason without written authorization from the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education and Sports, and or Chief Administrative Officer, stroke town clerk, as the case may be. Number two, other cash and non-cash requirements outside the approved school fees structure are strictly prohibited. All non-cash items must be catered for in the school budget. Number three, schools implementing the universal primary, universal secondary, and universal post-O-level education and training shall strictly adhere to the policy implementation guidelines. Where parents decide and agree to contribute towards an emergency in the school and permission is sought and granted by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education. No learner shall be excluded from school on account of parents' failure to pay the agreed amount in accordance with Section 9(3) of the Education Act 2008.
The House is adjourned to 2 on Tuesday.